Hello, coaches. Welcome back to the series on the ICF Core Competencies, the 2025 updates specifically to the ICF Core Competencies. We're talking about number 6, listens actively today. And I have Sandrine Saliba coming to us from Morocco, and she is going to be talking about this core competency. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Brighton. It's great to be here today.
Great. Well, let's start out with an overview, just a brief overview of this core competency in general before we get into some of the changes.
Well, a brief overview of this competency 6. Well, I have a couple of things that I would like to say about that. The first thing is that in ICF definition itself, there are 3 words that are essential for me, in my point of view. It's what the client is not saying. It's a small part of the ICF definition. And for me, the heart of active listening is this ability to hear the unspoken. That's where the real value lies, and that's what opens the door to change. The unspoken can hide in many, many things. A tiny word, a shift of the body, a small gesture, maybe an intonation, something left unsaid. But it can also be felt in the coach's own reactions, a sensation, an emotion, for example, that reveals something very important. Sometimes, right, and things that we can hear through our ears can be sometimes heard by the body. Mm-hmm. This competency and listening in general might seem simple, as if it's just about paying attention to something, but in reality, it's much more complex. And paradoxically, listening is also, from my point of view, about being selective and not paying attention to everything. I like to think it as a sieve, Mm-hmm. Many things pass through, but what stays behind is sometimes a small nugget of gold. And that nugget, if reflected back to the client, can be transformative. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And maybe one more idea. Listening actively, it's also about being able to listen to from 2 different perspectives, not only from the perspective of the client's story, but also externally to see the big picture, the bigger picture, and the whole system. It's like being both inside and outside the client's story at the same time, so as not to get pulled into the problem.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that overview. And now we're going to dig into the changes and just a couple of small changes on this one, the changes that came about in 2025. So tell us what has changed.
Yeah, you're right. Just a couple of things, the two little things. The evolution is actually in the verb tense for 2 subcompetencies. Instead of the past, the definition now uses the present. And the 2 subcompetencies are the subcompetency 6.2 and the subcompetency 6.5. So the first one said in the past, it was, the coach reflects or summarizes what the client communicated to ensure clarity and understanding. And now it has been changed with what the client is communicating. And for the subcompetency 6.5, before it was the coach integrates the client's words tone of voice, and body language to determine the full meaning of what is being communicated. And now it's of what the client is communicating. Mm-hmm. So for me, that nuance is powerful. It brings in the idea of synchronicity, listening in the moment, unfolding understanding as it happens. It's like updating and refining it in real time. When the past tense focuses on what the client already said, like capturing a snapshot, the present tense focuses on what the client is saying right now. It's much more dynamic and alive.
Great. Thank you. Some nice small updates, but very important. So let's talk about what this competency looks like during everyday coaching. So not specifically the changes, but what does this look like during every day?
Wow. In every day, it means many things. Actually, maybe it means that the coach doesn't jump too quickly on what comes up and on evidence. He allows the client to finish what he wants to say without interrupting, and then consciously chooses which doors to open. In every day, we can also observe the mastery of the coach in his ability, and it's a paradox, to interrupt the client gently, but to interrupt him because it's obvious that there's a coaching purpose to do so. For example, when the client is going in circles, or when he's associating himself with negative emotion, or when he's lost.
Okay, great. So what I love these two questions that are kind of mirror images of each other. And that is, first off, we're going to discuss what this looks like when a coach is really great at core competency number 6. And then I'm going to come back and ask you what it looks like when they're struggling. So let's start off with when a coach is really good, what does that look like during a coaching session?
When it's very good, is picking up on something subtle. It's when actually the coach can extract from a flood of information one detail, one nugget of gold. And it's when he's able to reflect it back to the client. It's one example of this ability. Mm-hmm. We can have another one, maybe?
Sure, let's have another.
Yeah, it's also when the coach questions and draws connections to broader dynamics, potentially at play within the client's wider system, instead of just focusing on the situation itself. It means that the coach listens at a systemic and multiple levels.
Wonderful. Thank you for those two examples. So
yeah.
Let's look at now what it looks like when a coach is struggling. Maybe this is a new coach and they're not quite sure how this competency works. So what are some typical mistakes that may be made?
For example, one mistake is when too quickly is jumping on an evidence. For example, the client might speak about their beliefs among many things, and instead of hearing a small contradiction or a small word, actually the coach question too quickly about those beliefs without listening to the whole explanation. It's what I'm calling jumping on an evidence, on something too easy. It's a demonstration, for example. It's also when the coach is listening only at the client situation level, is only looking at the situation, and if is forgetting the clients itself and the systems themselves. It's another possibility to observe that the competency is not completely mastered.
Great. Well, thank you for those examples. So I guess we're coming to a close on this interview. So is there anything that we've missed, something that you want to add?
Yes, maybe as a summary, we can say that actually this competency looks like, for me, to many things. It's a touch of precision. Being able to master this competency is to be able to pick up the detail, to sorting out the essential, the ability to bring the hidden to light, hidden to light.
Mm-hmm.
Not listening to with the intention of understanding, but to reflect back and going beyond and deeper. It's also this ability to listen to myself, what is happening inside my body, my emotion, my feelings, and to share it with the clients. It's this ability to listen to the whole system and listen to the clients themselves instead of listening to their situation. And maybe just as one more element, as a conclusion, I would like to use Otto Scharmer's idea of generative listening to illustrate this competency. Listening actively goes beyond suspending assumptions or just listening with empathy. It's one step further. It's about being in the flow, connected to something larger than myself, which emerges when I allow myself to be carried by the client's own potential. This is the conclusion I would like to.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sandrine. And it's wonderful having you share your experience here with your work on this core competency with the group that met in Paris, and also now sharing it to the world. So to those of you watching, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to go on to evoking awareness in competency number 7, you can go up here. Otherwise, you can head down here to start over at the beginning of the core competencies. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.